Okay, welcome po. Good evening sa inyong lahat at welcome sa isa na naman live streaming ng INBETWEEN. Siyempre, Wednesday po ngayon. So, ang ating programa ay INBETWEEN sa Facebook Live and on our YouTube channel. Ngayon po ay Miyerkules, Marso 17, March 17, 2021. So, nasa season 1 pa rin tayo pero nasa episode 11 na po tayo ng INBETWEEN. Nag-start po itong show na to mula nung January, nung lumipat po tayo sa pure digital platform. Okay, Jing Garcia po ng TechSabado. We call this INBETWEEN because our special guest, syempre, every Wednesday is INBETWEEN TechSabado and of course, Newsbytes.PH na pinamumunuan ng walang iba kundi si Attorney
Melvin Kalimag po.
na mukhang nakamute.
Ay, nakamute na naman ako. Ay, hindi. Yun.
Hindi. Okay na. Akala ko nakamute.
Akala ko sasabihin mo kanina.
Attorney.
Ay, good evening.
Middle of the week.
Yes, akala ko sasabihin mo kanina, TechSabado eh. Hindi pa tayo
Sabado eh, no?
Wednesday pa lang.
Wednesday pa lang. We're still in the middle of the week kung saan nag 1 year na po. Happy anniversary sa inyong lahat. 1 year na po ang ating quarantine sa buong Pilipinas. At lalo na sa Metro Manila, yung mga tao dyan, medyo humigpit, no? Humigpit ba? Curfew na naman.
1 year after, we're not in a better place, but in a worse
Actually, we're not even back in square one kasi hindi pala sabi nga nung nakita ko social media, no, sagot sa akin nung sinabi kong back to square one, hindi daw tayo back to square one kasi hindi daw tayo nakaalis sa square one. So wala naman daw tayong babalikan. Mga ano rin eh, mga ogag din yung mga nagko-comment online. Anyway, ganun pa man, ang dapat lang po natin gawin sundan po ang ating mga health protocols na pinapatupad po ng ating gobyerno sa tulad po ng paggamit ng mask, paggamit po ng face shield, social distancing o tinatawag po natin physical distancing. Yun lang po, sundan lang po natin yan sa araw-araw para po makatulong po sa pagbaba ng pagkalat ng pandemyang ito.
Jing, meron lang very short lang na comment. Sa tingin ko dapat alisin na yung face shield. Totoo lang. Para sa akin, napaka-cumbersome, parang it doesn't achieve its purpose.
It's either kasi mag-face shield ka o mag-mask ka. Dapat yun lang yun.
Hindi tayo lang gumagawa niyan eh. Tingnan mo. Lahat
nakamas
eh. Oo. Lahat ng mga tao nakamas, okay na yun eh. Basta tama yung pagkakalagay mo ng mask. Kasi ang sinasabi niyan, yung face shield, dapat daw sa mata papasok, di ba? Pero, pag nakasalamin ka, ganun din, hindi na makapasok. Pero problema pag face shield, yung virus, hindi naman yan diretso eh. Pwede siyang nag-hover eh. So, pag pumasok yan doon sa lalong di makakalabas yan. Kasi kinulong mo doon sa
loob ng mask, sa shield, between the shield and your face, no? Tama, totoo yan.
Tapos, minsan, hindi ka makapasok sa mga establishment, bibili ka ng gamot, kakain ka. Tapos, ang dumi-dumi naman ng baka mamaya, lalo pang ma-infect yung mata mo. Alam mo yun? Di ba?
Saka nagpo-fog siya. Yun ang isa kong issue sa face, sa shield eh, nagpo-fog. Especially pag naglalakad ka, bigla all of a sudden, bigla nag-foggy, mamaya madapa ka. Actually, kung ako lang masusunod, either face mask or shield ang susutin mo. Yung full face shield or mag-mask ka, yun lang.
Hindi, dapat mask eh. Dapat wala na yung shield eh. Basta tama lang yung face mask eh. Hindi ko alam yung... Ayun. Well, anyway, we're
pero ganun pa man, yun na nga, we're still back here sa square one. So, kailangan pa sigurong, hindi ko na alam. Ayoko na magsalita. Hindi ko na alam.
Ayun, sabi nga ni Mary Jane Selit ng Confluence, sabi niya, ang hirap huminga na may face mask na, may face shield ka pa. Actually, totoo. Tapos inconvenient eh. Di ba? Para kayong mga...
Especially now na magsa-summer, di ba?
Para kayong mag-wedding lahat eh.
Init-init mo. Oo nga, oo nga.
Totoo lang. Ayun. Anyway, since it's still
bago tayo
women's
natin
month, yes, ikaw mag-get.
Yes, oo. Ano lang, i-shoutout mo muna itong mga bagong pasok bago natin ipasok yung ating guest for tonight.
Okay.
Sino mga nandyan ngayon?
Ating mga suki, si R.G. Espinosa from Davao City, si Alex from Alex Fuentes from Bacolod City, si Ana Marquez ba ng Strategic Edge. Is watching. Si
Strategic Edge, yes.
Hermie Ansay Rivera is watching from Pampanga, Asia. Si Grace Cuenca from Accenture. Kilala ko yan Si Grace Cuenca.
Of course, yes. Grace, good evening, Grace.
Tagal natin kaibigan niya. Napakabait, napakaganda. May ganun.
Yan si Ana at si Grace. Matagal na natin barkada na nga natin yung mga yan.
Kasabay natin yan. Kasabay natin tumanda sa industriya.
Hindi ako nagsabi dun Si attorney nagsabi nun.
Si Julie Tanaka, yun. Present si Julie ngayon. Absent to last time. Hinahanap po sa si Julie Tanaka.
Wala. Absent. Kasi, absent to nung Sabado
Gusto
si
natin
Julie
malaman
absent to nung Sabado.
Yung dito scene kung nakakuha na siya.
Dito.
Di ba?
Yes.
Okay, so of course, si Mary Jane Seni.
Christine Torres. Hello po, Attorney Jing and Attorney and Jing galing from Batangas.
Si Faye Corral, si Ana is watching. Si Mel Dominguez, si Rick Valera, nagpa-blurred na po yung face shield. Minsan natatalisod ako. Totoo nga naman.
Yun din yung sabi ko
Totoo
yun din yung sabi ko
Actually, nakapag-accumulate na ako ng ang daming face shield sa sasakyan.
Actually, sa kotse dami. Mga sira-sira, di ba?
Sana i-evaluate ng
accumulate tayo ng trash.
At saka yung environmental yung face shield niyan,
environmental yan.
Totoo.
Environmental disaster yan, sabihin ko sa'yo.
Jing, baka nag-inip ang ating guest. Let's introduce siya sa mga top leading executives sa IT industry. Well, for the whole country, for that matter, And matagal na rin siya na one of the top women execs in the Philippines. And she's the...
Nasa interaction pa ako, top exec na yan.
Yes. And she's the managing director of Accenture Technology Philippines. Walang iba, kundi ang ating Lodi na si Ambe Tierro. Hi Ambe, good evening. Ay, nawala. Tingnan mo si Ambe. Nawala. Kung kailan natin in-introduce ka, nawala si Ambe. Ambe, are you there?
Kanina din.
Hello?
Yes, there you go.
Hi Melvin, hi Jing.
Yeah, good evening, Ambe. Good evening.
Good evening to you and to the audience. First of all, congratulations on this show.
I thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Where are you now, Ambe?
I'm at home. I'm at home.
At home, okay.
Yes.
So, kasi kala ko nasa office. Yung nasa likod mo kasi
Metro Manila yan, Metro Manila?
Yes, I'm in Metro Manila.
Yun. Kasi ang Jing, ang setup arrangement sa Accenture, marami silang managing director di ba, Ambe? Can you explain to us paano yung setup sa leadership setups in Accenture?
Well, the career levels range from career level 1 to 12. 12 is our starting level. That's the entry level. And then the managing director level starts at level 4. So the promotion is by career level.
Okay.
So that's the most junior managing director level. And then within the managing director level, you still have progression.
Okay. And right now, you're the only woman executive on the managing director level? Is that correct?
I'm the only career level 1.
Career level.
Only senior managing director in the Philippines.
Okay.
And globally for Accenture, we have more than 500,000 people globally.
Wow, dami.
the senior managing directors are only less than 1,000, so less than 1%.
Oh, wow. So before we go to the milestones that you've achieved at Accenture, and Jing, ang current CEO ng Accenture is a lady, a woman executive.
Talaga ngayon.
Tama ba, Ambe?
Yes, our global CEO is Julie Sweet. So she's been in position maybe more than a year now, almost 2 years. So
yeah.
Bago lang, okay. Yes.
So nabanggit ko lang. Pero before we discuss yung mga role ng women dyan sa Accenture and mga milestones, let's backtrack a bit, Ambe. Let's tell us more about yourself. Where did you study? And then ano yung mga jobs that you've done before?
Share your entire journey with us.
Yes. From the very start.
Okay, sige. Well, my fascination with computers started in high school.
Where?
I studied at Malate Catholic School.
Oy,
so
sige.
I joined the computer club, and for me, well, firstly, it's the only air-conditioned room in school. So I like spending time there.
Oo nga, computers eh.
Manilenya pala to si Ambe.
Our classrooms were not air-conditioned, no? But the computer lab was.
Yes.
So, but in all seriousness, kasi for me, it was fairly new, no? In the 80s. It was not very common to have personal computers at home. And so for me, when I look at the computer room, this black and green boxes, diba, were for me very magical. So as a young kid, I've always wanted to learn how to operate them. So that's kind of my story, I'm fascinated with it. And so it wasn't a surprise when I took up computer science in college. So I went to LaSalle.
In LaSalle, okay. Yes. Manila pa rin, ha?
Yeah, LaSalle, of course.
Yes, so I went to LaSalle and I took up computer science. This was 1986 when I entered PLSU. And yun, I was hooked by then so I really liked it. Firstly, there's not a lot to memorize. No? I don't like memorizing things. But computers, it's logic. Plus, I like the fact that it's detail-oriented also. Like every comma, every period will make a difference, right, in the success or failure. So I like that. I think women are detail-oriented, no? So it suits me. Plus, I thought I was good at it, no, because I can solve problems. So yeah, so that's kind of how I started, and that's why it's important, as you know, Melvin, Jing, in Accenture, we're sponsors of Hour of Code. This is a global initiative where we use our employee volunteers to teach coding to young kids. Before the pandemic, we would go to schools, no? Public and private schools, to teach kids an hour of code, just to spark their interest, no? Because for me, that was the case. And so I feel like if we can spark the interest of young people about coding and computers, then they would either take up STEM. But if you look at all the industries today, every industry is affected by technology. So knowledge about technology or computers will be a plus, right? So we're all very passionate about Hour of Code so that we can influence young people.
What was your first job, Ambe?
My first job is it's an interesting story. It's S.G.V. No, S.G.V.
S.G.V. Okay.
But kasi SGV, the history of SGV is the Management Services Division became Andersen Consulting in 1994.
Oh, yes.
And then Andersen Consulting became Accenture. So I never really quit. So it feels like I have 3 companies, but I never really quit my job because SGV was Andersen and then Accenture. So I joined.
Like evolve lang, yes.
Right. I joined SGV in 1990 at the entry level. We were called Technical Staff 1, so that's a programmer job.
Mm-hmm.
And but before that, so in LaSalle, SGV would host career fairs, career talks, and I attended one of those career talks, and I was very interested about this company because they said it's about meritocracy, and they talked about core values. And so I like that. No, I like that you can get promoted based on your abilities, not because of who you know, and also because some companies have very strict, kind of structured, very structured, right? You can only have 1 president, so many vice presidents. In Accenture, our model is as long as we are growing, we can promote people. No, so. It's not a very hard structure. So I was attracted by that. And then it so happened that they invited me to apply. At the time, kasi you get invited by SGV. Then you still take a test. And then I passed and then I joined. No? So I started at the bottom as a career.
Yeah. What year was that?
This was 1990, after I graduated. So it's my first and only job.
Wow.
Yeah, very
company lang no, nag-evolve into Andersen and Accenture. Si Rodney Latinazo din, nag-S.G.V. Diba?
Yeah, pati si Mon Hoxon. Pero kasi sila, sa sila more on the, yata sila on the accounting,
accounting and research. And research yata sila. Marketing and research si Ronnie.
Si Ambe.
Hindi rin na S.G.V.
Andersen Consulting.
Dami rin produkto.
Yeah. Ambe, ano ba yung naging partnership ng Andersen Consulting and S.G.V? Parang S.G.V was the local partner of Andersen Consulting, ganun ba yan?
At the time, in the 80s, so there was an audit firm, Arthur Andersen was the audit company. And managed the Management Services Division of S.G.V, kasi there's audit, there's tax, and there's management services, which is really consulting. That became Andersen Consulting. So it's spun off. So I was already in SGV when that spin-off happened. So all of us in the MS group moved to Andersen Consulting. This was 94, if I'm not mistaken, 1994. And then after that, 2001, Andersen Consulting rebranded
as Accenture.
Yes. So it was more rebranding. It's the same company. And it became public because it was a partnership at the time. So now we're a public company. So yeah, so my career started in SGV, and it's really a good, I would say, first job because you learn a lot. No, and it's a funny story. When I joined, it was 1990, diba? Gulf War, the first Gulf War. So I was I was on the bench. So we have a concept of bench, diba? Yung parang you're in between projects. I was on the bench because we were parang the work was matumal, diba? Because there was a war going on. And but we SGV really invested in us, in their people. They kept us even though we were not busy. I think it was about 6 months, no? That we were on the bench. We were just training, reading books. So yun, and I guess I learned at the time to be patient because as soon as you get assigned naman a project, and tuloy-tuloy na, diba? So there was no looking back. And I'm glad I stuck it out. at the time. So yun, and I guess if you ask me, my experience was, so my first project was for a utilities company. So at the time, S.G.V was already starting to support global clients, so it's not just local. So it's a US-based utilities company, and we did their customer service system. And eventually that became an asset. We called it Customer One. No? So ayun, I was a programmer and I was part of the group. So we did the project. It's COBOL, no? Mainframe COBOL. And after 1 year of implementation, I was selected to be sent to the US for the training, for the deployment and the support. No? So we were going to deploy at the client side. So
that was a US client?
Yes, it's a US client. It was the beginning of like global delivery centers, Melvin, if you can, if you know what I mean. So it was really a great experience. My first time in the US, and I was young kasi I graduated when I was 19 years old, below 20. No?
Wow.
At the time kasi there was no strict requirement of being, being like grade 7, etc. So I was always young for my batch. So it's nice kasi when I was in the US, diba, you cannot drink alcohol unless you were 21 years old.
Oh, 21, yes.
So I was in the US already. I was 20. I was 20 years old.
Wow.
And my project mates, well, it's Filipinos and Americans, they would say, "Huwag ka na sumama, hindi kami makainom kasi hassle." They would check my ID.
KJ ka, KJ.
They would check my ID at the bar na, you can. And sometimes nakakalusot kasi I show mga Filipino ID na kung ano-ano. Na, minamadali ko lang so I can enter the clubs. But it was a great learning experience for me, being exposed to an international team, diba? And really boosted my confidence. No, na I was in the right place, diba? That kasi whenever you have rewards like that, diba? I mean, traveling abroad is like a reward because you get selected. Now, you're one of the few that who can go to the client side and be part of the deployment. So I guess my career in Accenture has been a series of moments like that where I have signs and actual experiences that have enabled me, and my mentors have told me that you're doing well, so just keep doing well, and then yun. So that was one of my experiences. And I guess one thing I want to share about this US assignment is also, kasi diba, we Filipinos sometimes we're very quiet. Like when there's a meeting, pag naiintindihan mo na, you're not going to ask a question, right? So, and I experienced where my manager was American at the time. After the meeting, he asked me, "So, did you understand what was being discussed?" I said, "Of course, I understood. Why didn't you ask a question?" Because I understood. No, but this was a learning moment because I guess you have to speak up, no? Especially when you're in these global forums, and especially as I was growing in my career, I learned to have a voice, no? And sometimes it's intimidating because you, as a woman, I noticed, no, kasi in the Philippines, sometimes you don't notice these things, no, because we're quite diverse in S.G.V and in many companies here locally. But once you go out in the international stage, in the global stage, you will notice that there are fewer women, and so it could get intimidating. And so I always remember that experience. I have to say something. I have to speak up. so that they would think that I can represent, diba? I can represent.
Ibang-iba yung culture.
Yeah, I can represent. So, so yan. So I mean, I learned a lot from these, moments of truth. I guess I would say where I keep remembering. Sige, I should be confident. Diba? I should say something. So yan. So that was my early days. And then
siguro inisip ng that executive, foreign executive, because you're very young and you're a lady and you didn't say a thing. Parang ano ba to? Naintindihan niyo ba yung sinasabi? Parang ganun, no? Yung perception nila, no?
Right. And
you're
ganun kasi tayo, Melvin, di ba? If you don't really have a question, you won't really, parang ano yun.
Yeah, tahimik lang eh. Mga Asians ganyan eh.
Asians ganyan, no?
So, I mean,
even sa mga press con, mga Asian journalists ganyan eh, tahimik, hindi tatanong.
Ayun. And when you get experience in foreign assignments, you gain confidence. I guess that's what happened to me. I benefited from that. Talking to clients and then mentoring from these managers that have continued to push me. So my first, I would say 6-7 years in S.G.V / Andersen Consulting, I've always worked internationally. So I've been sent on foreign assignments. US, UK, and then we also had a training center in Chicago. Very good experience for me to work with different cultures. Of course, I gained friends. I also learned a lot in terms of technology and also industry and business. And then I got promoted. So, diba, I explained to you the levels. It has changed over the years, no? But level 7, like a manager. I made manager when I was 25 years old. So after 5 years. So I was fast track, no? What you call fast track in SGV. And again, that was an affirmation. I'm in the right place, diba? That I made manager at such a young age. Tapos yun, I got all these experiences traveling internationally. And then yun, after siguro 7 years, I decided na okay, I will probably request not to have these long-term assignments anymore. Kasi I wanted to get married, so I got engaged at the time. No? I got married at 26 years old.
Usually ba gaano katagal yung projects in overseas?
Depends. No? So my first in North Carolina was more than a year.
Wow, okay.
And then UK, in London, I was assigned in London 1 year also. And then the others in LA, in Florida, Atlanta. Nakakatawa nga yan kasi parang 92, I was in, we were in Florida in Disneyland. We said, may Olympics, diba, sa Atlanta. I said, sana ma-assign ako dyan. Sana nandito ako ng Olympics. And then I was assigned.
Okay.
Olympics. So means be careful what you ask for, no? Pero yun, so after all of those experiences, kasi I said maybe I should stay put because I wanted to get married and yun. So okay naman, and I think that's also a good thing about our organization where we also try to listen to the preference of our people and also adjust based on their priorities. So at least I got that support. So I got married and then I built my career mostly. I still travel, not in the last year like all of us, but the only short term na lang, not anymore long-term assignments.
Okay. And so you didn't feel discriminated at all as a woman, employee, executive in Accenture?
Abroad or here?
No, it's not. discrimination, I would say it's more um like I was saying, when you travel, diba, and when you're in this different environment,
Mm-mm.
there's fewer women, no, unlike maybe here locally. And so that could be intimidating for women like me, because you stand out. You stand out. You
Mm-mm.
sometimes
Oh,
in
of
meetings,
course.
conferences, I would be the only woman, the only Asian woman. Diba? So parang you get conscious. You get
Yes.
conscious na parang if I say something stupid, they will all remember because I'm the only woman.
Especially IT and tech, man's world eh. Pag yung idea, yun ang concept ng IT nung araw eh.
Yes, yes.
Right. So, yun. So, it's more the intimidate. So, it's more self-limiting belief, actually. At least in, kasi nga, you're fewer, right? Like, or, sometimes alone, di ba? I was just by myself. But I also try to, and that's why mentors really help, no? Because you talk it through, you can be open about what you're feeling, what you're going through. And my mentors were saying, why don't you use this and turn it around and make yourself memorable, right? Because you can be remembered as, okay, that the only woman that didn't say anything, or you can be remembered as someone remarkable, right? Like, and so that's stuck in my head.
Galing, oo nga.
Yeah, and
Galing,
that's
ganda.
why I really prepare, di ba? Like I make sure I'm competent, di ba? Of course, that starts with competence, that you know what you're doing, you know what you're saying, and then use your voice, di ba? Like, kasi especially when I was rising na in my career, di ba? I also have kids. I have 3 sons.
Oh. Wow.
So nung medyo bata pa yung mga anak ko, syempre iniiwan mo, di ba, to travel to these conferences, for example. And if I don't say anything, parang sa loob-loob ko, or if I don't engage and participate there, parang sa loob-loob ko, sayang naman yung iniiwan ko pa yung mga anak ko, tapos wala naman pala akong gagawin doon, di ba? So, so I always psych myself na, di ba, I should be active. I mean, make the most out of every experience. So that was my motivation na if I'm not going to engage, then I shouldn't go at all. So I think that's what's driving me. I'm going. I should represent the Filipinos, the women, and and so yun. So
baka hindi ikaw na-intimidate, sila na-intimidate sa'yo.
Kasi nga, ang tagal ko na sa Accenture, I think one of my one of the things that I value is the network that I built over the years. No? So, because my peers at the time are also now senior managing directors like me. And so it's very easy to reach out and ask for help or collaborate on certain projects because we have grown up together and I built this network. So I think it's very important. That's one of the tools, no? Whether you're a man or a woman, expanding your network, not just locally but globally, especially in a large organization like ours, is very important. And building relationships. And thankfully for me, I'm very genuinely interested in people naman. So I don't have to be plastic when I ask them. You really get to know them. I really like interacting. So I've built that network, and it's quite good, no, for me.
Ambe, you said you've been with Accenture for so long, for it's almost forever.
30 years. 30 years.
30 years.
30 years, yes.
That's forever in the IT world, di ba? So, hindi ka ba parang, nagsabi na, parang gusto ko naman i-try yung ibang to go out of Accenture. Di ba? Kasi, first job mo, and then, never ka pa ibang kumpanya, gano'n.
Sa dami ng tech companies around.
Yes. Well, there have been, I would say, temptations.
Yes.
Maybe I considered a couple of them, but I ended up staying because so I'll tell you a story. So like, diba, I said I have 3 sons. So my first son, when I was pregnant with him, so one interesting fact about me, which I always tell people in Accenture, is I've always been promoted. My major promotions, my managing director promotions happened when I was on maternity leave.
Okay.
Talaga?
Yeah. So I remember my promotion to managing director because it's the same as the birth year of one of my sons. And so yung my eldest, it was a difficult pregnancy. So I was out for 6 months because I had premature contractions. So I was on bed rest. And when I came back, I still got promoted. Even so, parang
kahit ang tagal mo nawala, promote ka pa.
Wow.
Right.
Ganun sila kabilib sa'yo. Wow.
I felt like, diba? I mean, and I think, Jing, it's not kasi a promotion is an outcome, right? I mean, it's an outcome of work that you do over the years.
Yes.
And it's not like parang kampanya ka for a few months and then you will win, right? So I think it's an accumulation of the work that you put in, the skills that you build, and so I've always felt that support from Accenture and of course my family, So I've never had really a serious reason to leave, and of course, like I said, there have been temptations, but parang even at the end, I chose to stay. So
na-mention ni Ambe
they build their
Jing, na-mention ni Ambe yung pregnancies, no? Did you know that Accenture is the first company in the Philippines to actually give maternity benefits over and above what is provided under the law? Can you discuss about something about that, Ambe?
Yeah, so before it became a law here, we decided in 2015, I believe, to increase our maternity leave to 120 days.
120 days. So usually a provided lang is 100 days, right?
60 days only for normal delivery.
Normal. Tapos 75 days. 75 days for cesarean. Oh.
Right. And then a year or 2 years after that, we added paternity leave because the paternity leave statutory, I think, is 7 days for the Philippines. And then we said 30 days for our
1 month.
Employees. And if they're both employed by Accenture, they can swap, they can share. So they have 150 days.
Okay.
Seeing them. And they can kunyari the husband can take more depending on their situation, no? And
how many children can they avail that benefits?
Kahit ilan siguro.
Kahit ilan?
Wala naman yatang limit. Up to whatever.
Walang limit.
Kasi under the law, alam ko, labor code 4. First 4.
Talaga? Sa Pilipinas?
Yes.
Parang I'm not sure that maybe consistent with SSS, Melvin. So and I was part of, and that's what's nice about having, I guess, females represented in the management team, right? Because you kind of know what they go through, and I've been through that experience where, kasi 2 months, your baby is really just very small pa, mahirap iwan. And that's when women decide to leave their jobs. Kasi parang ang hirap, di ba? And mahirap humanap ng trust.
Tama.
But if the baby is already 4 months, then you're a little bit more comfortable, right? To go back to work. So we always think of things. So we have an inclusion and diversity network and champions within the company. They keep thinking of these things, no? Where how can we
yeah, that's good.
At the forefront of some of our policies. So yeah, so I think it's the first, and I think it became a law already, which is good for all women. And then yan, we also have paternity leave. Kasi we were also advocating for equality, diba? Na it's not...
Of course, yes.
It's not the parang stereotype na, it's just the woman who's expected to take care of a new baby. Dapat mag-contribute din si husband. So,
oo nga.
So parang yan, we're proud of all of the mga landmark policies that we have started.
Okay, do you have also the typical, kasi sa mga American companies, they have this goal na gender equality in terms of number of employees or officials in the company?
Yeah, in ratio between the genders.
Yes, we have. So our CEO, even before the current one, the predecessor, has declared that by 2025, Accenture will be an equal company. 50-50.
Wow.
50-50. Wow.
2025, that's just about...
konti na lang.
40 years from 4 years.
4 years. 4 years from now. Even the pay, Ambe, walang difference.
No, we are always looking at that, Jing. So I'm very confident to say that we don't have pay gap.
Yung kasi parating problema, di ba? Even in US companies, yung parating rereklamo nila yung pay gap na between the genders.
Right. So, yun. And as you know, in the Philippines, we are already there, no, in terms of gender. But we're not complacent. No, we're not complacent. Kasi it's always a factor of recruitment, diba? Making sure that you sustain the diversity, especially in technology work. We think that diversity drives innovation. It's not just the diversity in gender, but also diversity of thought, diba? We make sure we hire from different schools, different backgrounds. We also advocate for LGBTQ. We have allies. There's a community, and then we're also proud about our disability inclusion agenda.
Yeah.
So we have what we call self-declared PWDs. And sometimes kasi when you start with the intent, I get inspired by our employees, or sila na mismo yung nag-iisip na, what else can we do for, parang to create more opportunities for, especially in technology, So,
di ba you created pa nga, Ambe, ay parang sort of PW lab, right?
Right, like
I remember may mga yung mga even the devices, you provide the devices for them na pang Yes,
accessibility lab. We call it accessibility lab.
Yes.
And that started in the Philippines with our team. It won internally. We have what we call parang greater than awards, Accenture greater than. They won globally, and the global team decided to adopt that. So we have them across the world now. The accessibility.
Ay, ganda, galing, galing.
Yeah, and the idea came from our team.
Local model, then adapted globally.
Galing. Naalala ko nga yung mga devices, yung mga keyboards, yung mga ginagamit nila kasi typical, yung iba, hindi yung ordinary, may special devices sila for the disabled para talaga makapagtrabaho sila na maayos.
Right. And then, ngayon, di ba, pandemic, we also, we learn a lot about diversity. So, yan yung mga our PWD employees. We have tech support. So when you call tech support, let's say you need help, we also offer sign language tech support now.
Galing ah.
Oo, so yun. It's
kompleto ah.
okay. And again, these ideas come from our employees already. It's not like top-down type of ideas. So yeah, to
actually, Accenture has been awarded as the best parang employer for those initiatives, right, Ambe?
I'm not sure. Like you mean a local award? I know parang globally, internally now we have the Regional Awards. I'm not sure locally if there's a specific one for that, but we always have. We get recognition from ICT awards, ganyan, from time to time, which we're happy about. Tama yan, tama ka. Last year we won about
as one of the best places, best employers, parang ganun to work for.
And best places to work for,
and Accenture is also, I think, the second biggest private employer in the Philippines. Is that
in the Philippines, di ba?
Is that correct, Ambe?
Still, parang?
How many employees do you have?
We have about more than 55,000 employees today. Between technology and operations.
Okay. And I'd just like to ask a question regarding how was your company during the pandemic? How do you cope with the situation?
Yeah, I heard you talking
about... How challenging was it?
Oo nga, kasi one year na tayo, no?
Yes.
And we were just reminiscing about this on my team. So thankfully, it was I wouldn't say easy, but it was relatively straightforward for us because we have been in the cloud. We're 90% in the cloud, even prior to COVID. So our tools are, we use MS Teams, Microsoft Teams. So our people, and most people are laptop enabled. So very few na lang where we had to enable during the period where we had to react and we had to respond to the lockdown. So we were proud about how we responded, and our priority was to keep our people safe and secure. So we moved to work from home relatively fast, and then yun nga, because people are used to using the cloud, they can collaborate easily. In fact, our productivity also improved during the first few months of lockdown, because there was, I guess, people were at home, diba? They were not bothered by traffic, etc. So, ayan. And then right now we are still, majority of our people are still working from home. We do have a skeletal workforce in the office, depending on client requirements, but majority are working from home. And we are already planning what's going to be the future of work, especially in tech. I think it's changing and we don't know what's going to happen. No one can tell, but we are certainly planning that it's going to be hybrid, because we have already realized the benefits of working from home. But there were things that you thought you couldn't do.
Yes.
We're able to see very little impact, and people like it, and some of our employees have gone to their provinces to live with their parents during the lockdown, and they can still work from their provinces. But I think people also miss the human interaction.
Yes, oo nga.
Which I think is important in terms of building your culture, building your teams. So I guess when it's safe, we're going to be hybrid. No, that's kind of where what we're thinking.
Yes, of course, as a consulting firm, no, part ito ng mga nakikita nyo kung anong dapat mangyari in the near future, especially with this kind of situations when it comes to work from home and things like that.
Yeah, and kasi there are tools naman in the cloud, diba? The collaboration tools where it's very possible. And so and as you may know, we have client visits when we were before the pandemic. We would always have clients in our offices every week. So we're 2 to 3 global clients visiting us. We have the Liquid Studio. I'm sure Melvin has been to the Liquid Studio.
Been there many times.
I don't know, Jane, maybe in the future if you have a chance.
Hindi pa yata, yes. Yes, but, I will.
We created the virtual innovation hub during the pandemic. So very nice. It's 3D. We launched it recently externally, and that has become the way we connect with clients. So we're really like maximizing the use of tech to continue to reach out to our clients, and our clients are also responding positively to this innovation pa din, even remote.
Before we run out of time, can you just tell us your career highlights mo so far? Because of course you're not done yet.
Well, so what I'm proud about is, being a woman trailblazing in the tech industry. I became the ATCP, the Advanced Technology Center's lead in 2013. And I'm proud about how I've grown my team, not just in terms of size, but also in terms of the capability in what we do, in the innovation, and what we offer to our clients. So we try to stay ahead of technology. So there's a group where all they do is look at the future. So 5G, edge, computing, blockchain. So there's always an incubation group, and then the others are scaling the technology. Whether it's cloud, and so in the Philippines, I think we're the frontliners, and I'm proud about my leadership in building this technology group in the organization. And then, of course, I'm also proud about being the first senior managing director from the Philippines. Hopefully, there will be more. And the first woman at that senior managing director. And I've, aside from my role in the Philippines, I've done global roles for Accenture. So I used to lead the AI capability, artificial intelligence, which was it came from my background in LaSalle. Because my thesis was AI. So
that was in 1990.
Full circle. Yeah, well, in 1990 it was natural language interface was my thesis. So this wala pang Google. Wala pang Google. And so I built, there was a group, but Prolog was the language. I don't know if you know Prolog. We built parang you can query without knowing SQL.
Search pa, yeah.
Without knowing SQL, you can query, for example, tell me the number of female students in computer science, parang ganyan. So you can query but no structure. At the time, kasi you have to know SQL to do a query. So we built that, parang Google, parang Yahoo, diba? Any free text. So that's sort of the start of AI. And then AI kasi slept for a long time, no? I mean, there's winter. But now it has come about. So 2 years ago, I took up, kasi we do that mga +1 roles in Accenture. So I took that artificial intelligence capability lead, we built the learning maps for AWS, Google, Microsoft, etc. And then ayan, so now it's scaled. We rotate. No? So I'm proud about being able to handle these global roles aside from my technology hat in the Philippines. But Philippines is one of the, I would say, most important locations for Accenture. I think we're the second largest now after India. And so my role is critical, no, for our global delivery. So I'm very focused on making sure we continue to build our capability here so that we can showcase what the Filipinos can do globally.
Wow, that's a lot of achievements, Jing, no? Yung nga, sabi ni Ambe, hindi lang
dami niyang ginawa. Yes.
Yung role niya, hindi lang talaga pang, yung sa Philippines, talagang maraming siyang roles. Maraming global projects na ni-lead at ginawa. No? So, we're very...
Hindi small time yung company, Hindi small time yung company.
These are big projects, no? Talagang, we're very... proud of what
we're very proud, yes,
of what Ambe has achieved for the country, for Accenture. Kasi Accenture nagbigay na rin ng maraming trabaho sa mga Pilipino, kaya we're very grateful. We're very grateful din sa Accenture for having
Accenture.
Located
and we're proud
here.
Sa leadership ni Ambe. Yeah. And we're proud sa leadership ni Ambe. That's why she's here sa INBETWEEN.
We celebrate
worthy to be invited.
We celebrate women achievements and empowerment, di ba, Jing? And we acknowledge Ambe's contributions to the industry, BPO industry, and okay. So
the continuing evolution of the digital transformation of the Philippines. Part si Ambe dyan sa Accenture.
Okay. At this point, siguro last parting words na lang kay Ambe, no?
Yes. Oo nga, medyo nabusan tayo oras Maganda kasing kwento niyan, dami. Ganda.
Before we wrap up our show, Ambe, may ka ba gusto ko sabihin?
Well, sure. So firstly, thank you for inviting me again, Jing and Melvin. It's been fun. I thought we couldn't fill the hour, but time flew. I guess since it's International Women's Month, I'm very happy that I had the opportunity to guest here, and hopefully through the stories that I've shared, I have inspired other women to
correct.
To be confident, no, and blaze the trail. So just be competent, build your competency, and then find a mentor, and continue to learn. No? Because in our industry, it's always evolving. You have to have lifelong learning skills. And as long as you're relevant, then you can succeed in the tech industry. And then don't forget to mentor others too. So,
yes.
I stand on the shoulders of women who came before me, and so I would like to make sure
pay forward.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. So okay, so Jing, we will be tag dito expecting or another 30 years, di naman siguro, mga 20 years pa, no? In your Accenture journey. Kasi naka-13 na siya. Plus 20, 50.
Ang tagal kong 30 years more.
Ayun. Okay, thank you very much, Ambe Tierro, the senior
manager
of Accenture in the Philippines. Maraming salamat, Ambe, and we honor your contributions and acknowledge your achievements as a woman executive here in the Philippines and global.
Yeah, that's why we do this here sa INBETWEEN, kaya rin natin ginagawa ito. Actually, sabihin lang natin sa mga tao, hindi lang po March natin ito ginagawa. Actually, whole year round, in-acknowledge po natin ang mga women IT leaders ng Pilipinas.
Correct.
Kaya every now and then, nasa TechSabado sila or ngayon nga sa INBETWEEN.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Ambe, and more power to you and Accenture.
All right.
Okay.
Accenture.
Batiin lang natin, Jing, yung mga humahabol na ano natin, na mga...
Oo nga, may mga mahabol pa sa ano
Madami,
natin eh.
Si Julie
mga suki natin.
Tanaka, sabi niya, face shield is useless because men are not properly wearing it. Si
Sabi ni Mel
Ana,
Dominguez, Malatian. Malayong Malati Catholic School. Malatian pala siya. Same here. Sila ni
pareho
Mel.
siya. Taga Malati Catholic School
Malati
din.
Catholic School.
Si Jing Tadili is watching. Si Alvin Pingol, si Josa Matet, si Joy Cabrillos, si Monette Ongpin, si Professor Rene Ledesma, si Ed Gans, si Rick Valera, of course, si Annie Jane De Rojas. Okay.
Si Alex Fuentes, nanonood sa atin sa YouTube. Yes.
Correct. Sa YouTube naman. Okay. Thank you, Accenture Philippines and to Strategic Edge for this wonderful episode. Maraming salamat. Thank you, Jing. See you again next week.
Next week ulit po sa In-Between. May another guest tayo na dahil Marso pa rin. So we'll still have next week pala. Ano na ba next week? 23 o 24 na ba? Ano yun?
24, 17 ngayon eh.
Okay, sa 23 po we'll be having the country manager naman po ng Google Philippines.
24, kakasabi ko lang 24,
24.
sabi mo 23.
Okay, 24, sige. Okay, Google Philippines, kikita nyo hindi lang po Accenture. Pati Google Philippines, babae rin ang namumuno. Ano ba yan? Grabe. Lahat po na mabibigat na... Yes, it's a woman's world po dito sa IT industry ng Pilipinas. Maraming salamat din sa kanila. Sila nagpapatakbo. Mas competent yata. Anyway, yun po. Huwag niyo kalimutan.
Sana sa Pilipinas din. Sana sa Pilipinas din.
Okay, wag niyo po yung kalimutan na Google Philippines sa next week po sa In-Between. Okay, Jing Garcia po ng TechSabado.com. Nagpapaalam na po ngayong gabi. Wag niyo pong kalimutan, TechSabado. Sa darating na Saturday naman po, 8 p.m. din. Like at follow niyo po ang aming mga social media pages, facebook.com/TechSabado at saka facebook.com/Newsbytes.PH. Nasa Twitter din po kami at TechSabado at saka @Newsbytes.PH. Sa mga nanonood sa amin dito sa YouTube channel namin, give us the thumbs up at kung nagustuhan niyo po ang aming programa at i-click niyo po ang subscribe button. Pag nasa Facebook naman po kayo, i-click niyo po ang like button or i-follow niyo po ang aming page. Of course, ang aming website, TechSabado.com at saka Newsbytes.PH. Remind ko lang sa ating mga viewers, pag gusto niyo pong suportahan ang aming programa, meron pong link sa amin sa baba ng aming comment section sa Facebook. At the same time, meron din po sa YouTube kung paano nyo po gagawin para po suportahan ang ating programa. Huwag nyo rin po kalimutan, ito pong broadcast namin ngayong gabi will be available on Spotify by Friday. Maraming salamat PLDT Smart Corporate Communications Team for their continuing support. At syempre sa ating mga kaibigan sa MSI, AMD at saka sa XSplit. Don't forget, Saturday, TechSabado at the next Wednesday, In-Between ulit. Wear a mask, stay home, stay safe. Follow niyo lang po ang ating mga health protocols na binibigay ng gobyerno. Huwag pong pasaway. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Paalam na po ang In-Between. Maraming salamat po. Yeah, thank you.